I know that a lot of the people that visit the Mice and Rat Enrichment channel are first-time rat and mouse owners, so I thought it would be helpful to put together a list of essential things that you'll need when setting up a rat enclosure or a mouse enclosure. These things are available on my Amazon storefront, so I do need to say that I do get a small affiliate commission if these items sell. Some of the things that I have listed here, they are things that I use, but it may not be the exact brand because I'm based in Australia and a lot of my viewers are based in the US. First up, we've got rat enclosure essentials. So when it comes to choosing the right rat enclosure, one of the things that you really need to bear in mind is that they can jump up and horizontally quite high. So we're talking like 1 metre to 1.2 metres. So often in pet stores, they sell these tiny cages that are just completely inappropriate. You'll also want to make sure that the bars aren't too big because they are good escape artists. So if you're getting it online, for example, you want to check carefully in the description that they're not more than, say, 1/2 inch. I use an enclosure that looks something like this, only I've got a 1-tier one at the moment for 2 rats, but it can also have a 2nd tier added on top. I think that front opening is really important, like this one here, because it allows you to clean it much more easily. The bottom tray is not that deep, so you might want to put something like a Perspex tray in the bottom so that you can put a nice big deep bit of bedding. I use things like these hanging baskets so that they can have a snuggly area to just chill out. Basically, I tend to put them at the top of the enclosure. My favourite water bottle, and I have tried many water bottles, is this kind of square water bottle with the screw, and it screws onto the enclosure rather than having like one of those wires that wrap around it. I also really like the ball bearing inside this particular water bottle. I don't know what it is, but it just tends to leak less and I haven't had any issues with it. Enrichment toys are super important, so I've added things like hanging hay feeders, chew toys, climbing toys, things that they can hide in. You're going to want quite a few hides throughout the enclosure, whether that's things like hammocks or whether that's things like these wooden kind of hides. And then things like tunnels that they can crawl through, things that they can climb up, like these sugar glider mats. And I also like these enrichment toys where you can put things like herbs or vegetables inside, or maybe even like millet sprays. For rats, having a litter tray is really important because they do like to keep their toilet area and feeding area separate. I'm not saying they're all very good at it, but they are quite easy to like litter train. So you can have something like a disposable cat litter tray, like these cardboard ones here, or you could have an easy clean one like some sort of plastic one. You could use cardboard boxes. You can also use just plastic trays, but I've added some different options in for you here. And then I also use this particular brand of paper-based cat litter. So it's basically just non-toxic recycled paper, because you want to make sure if they accidentally ingest it, it's not going to be toxic to them. In terms of bedding materials, these are some of my favourite types of bedding materials. So we've got paper bedding, and I find like having a mixture is good for their enrichment as well, so that they can mix it up. Then I've also added in hemp bedding, which is one of my favourite. And this reptile bark and cocoa husk, or you could even use cocoa coir, that's all really good too. I've also added in these extra hides here, so you've just got these guinea pig hides. And again, if you're doing it online, you're going to want to check that they are sort of more for the size of a guinea pig or a ferret, because otherwise they come far too small if they're like for mice. The last couple of things that I've added into the rat section is food and then also dehumidifiers. But it's something that I like to have because it helps me to control the humidity of the air to help them try to prevent getting a respiratory illness, and they are so prone to that. Finally, I've added a couple of rat food brands or rodent food brands. Now, I personally use Oxbow, also Science Select, but for some reason I couldn't find that on Amazon, so I've just listed a couple of different brands here. Again, because I'm in Australia, sometimes what I can get hold of is different to what's in the US. You're just going to want to make sure that on top of any dry food you give them, they're getting fresh fruit, veggies, nuts and seeds as well as part of their balanced diet. Moving on to setting up a mouse enclosure. Similar things to rats, but some differences because they're obviously a lot smaller. So I've included the same drink bottle and also the same types of food, although you are going to want to look for rat specific, mouse specific, unless it's made for both of them. I use the same bedding whether it's rats or mice, but their hammock sizes are obviously going to be smaller. So the bar spacing, again, for a mouse cage is going to be even smaller than for a rat, so you're really kind of looking at like a centimetre so that they can't squeeze through. And then finally, obviously, you've got your enrichment toys. So climbing toys are really important. Wood is really important for both rats and mice because they need to keep their teeth short. Their teeth never stop growing. And then also just these foraging type toys, again, good for both rats and mice so that they can spend some time just having a bit of fun and foraging for food, which they would naturally do in their natural environment.